Hello there, welcome back to the Messy Cook. Today I'm making something new that I've not made before, but I saw this on online. I don't know if it was a reel somewhere. It could have been TikTok, and I'm not 100% sure. This recipe is by Tasty. It's cookies and cream brownie cheesecake bars. Basically, they're asking for a box of brownie mix, baked according to package instructions. I am making my own, so I'll share the recipe in a moment. So just look this up online, look up Tasty cookies and cream brownie cheesecake bars, and you'll get the recipe. But there's a little screenshot there. And then, just in case you don't have a computer, you can just pause your screen and all the instructions are there. Now, like I said, I'm going to be making my own brownie bottom. So this is my brownie recipe. It's got lots of chocolate on it, but I have made this recipe before. I'll try to remember to link it in the description so you can check that video out for the brownie recipe. So 2 cups of white sugar. Sorry, I got my camera moving around here. 2/3 of a cup of cocoa, 2/3 of a cup of margarine melted. I use butter, but you can use margarine. 4 eggs, half a teaspoon of salt, 1.5 cups of flour, teaspoon of baking powder, nuts or chocolate chips. Now that's if I'm making just the brownies themselves, but I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to omit these 2 bottom things that I'm covering up right there. So I'm just going to go to the baking powder. I'm going to add in a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm going to combine your sugar, cocoa in a bowl, add your margarine or butter and eggs, mix it up, add the vanilla, beat until smooth, and then put in your dry ingredients. So pour that into a 9x13 pan that's been greased. I'm going to do parchment in this one, and I'll show you a little trick to get it in your pan so it measures out nice and evenly. So I'm going to get everything prepared here, and we're going to get back to the recipe in a moment. Okay, so I have everything prepped here to make the brownies. So we're going to start with the brownies first. I have 2 cups of white sugar I've just put in the bottom here, and then I have 2/3 of a cup of cocoa I have mixed out, so I'm going to pop that in. Bang that off on the side, and we're going to mix this up. So we'll grab my handy dandy whisk. We just want to get this incorporated, and if we do this ahead of time, before I shove the butter and the eggs in there with the mixture, if I get it mixed up, get the cocoa mixed in a little bit at least with the sugar, it doesn't puff up all over the place and make a mess. Which you know, if you have a stand mixer, you can do this as well. I'm going to use a stand mixer for the cheesecake portion. We'll get to that. So that's mixed up. We're going to add the margarine, which I've already melted. This is 2/3 of a cup of, well, I've used butter, so I'm just going to pop that in the center. Put that away for washing, and we're going to add in 4 eggs. So I crack them into a bowl to make sure that I don't get any shells. So I've got those all set there. And I forgot to get my hand mixer out, so I'm going to grab that. All right, so I have the stand mixer ready. And like I said, you can do this in a stand mixer. If you have a KitchenAid or just a hand mixer is fine. You can also just mix by hand. Okay, so that's just mixed till combined. That's all we really need at this point. I'm going to get my scraper because we're going to be wanting to scrape down shortly. So I've added all that in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in half a teaspoon of salt. So we'll get that in there. Again, like I said, if you want to just do a boxed brownie mix, just get a plain one. Don't get anything with chocolate chips in it, because we're going to be putting Oreos in the middle of this with a cheesecake on the top. And baking it, and we're also going to be adding a few, if I have enough Oreos, I'm going to sprinkle a few over the top as well. So this is going to be decadent enough. I don't think it needs chocolate chips, but hey, if you want to do that, you can do that as well. I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Now, this recipe is really easy. I know in most recipes when you're baking, they say, oh, mix the dry ingredients together ahead of time. You can do that. I never do for this one. I just kind of dump everything in the bowl. I like recipes that are easy, and this is actually a very simple recipe. It's delicious, but it's very simple. So I've added the baking powder and the salt in. I'm going to add in 1.5 cups of flour. So I'm going to add in just a little bit at a time. So that's about a cup there. So I'm going to give this a scrape down. There we go. I just want to make sure we get all the powder, the cocoa powder and everything off the side. And I'm going to do just a little mix by hand to get that salt and the baking powder in. Please do not use baking soda. Baking soda makes it taste funny and it won't rise properly. I'm going to put in about half of that. That's about a half a cup there. I'm going to top this up so it's at 1.5 cups of flour that we need to incorporate. And remember, if you've seen this recipe before, there we go. This is a very thick recipe, or sorry, thick dough, I should say. There we go. A little over, but that's okay. We can just scrape that and get rid of it. So I will scrape this off the side. There we go. And I'm going to turn this on low and just get this incorporated. So I'll continue to get the whole 1.5 cups of flour incorporated and come back in a second. All right, so I've scraped this down. I've got all the flour in, giving it one last little mix here just to make sure we don't want any lumps. And again, you don't have to overbeat this. This is not a batter that we want to be light. This is something that's going to be, again, it's going to be a little bit thicker. I forgot to add the vanilla, and you can add it in with the wet ingredients or really at any point. I always forget and end up adding it in at the very end. So this is 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So I'm just going to add this in now and get it incorporated in. So like I said, add at any point. Really doesn't matter as long as you get it in there. So that's what matters. So let's get this set aside and mix this in. I'll turn it up a little bit now. Okay, so that's what we got. You can see this is a really slow moving, super thick batter. So I'm going to take this and set this aside for a moment. I'm going to dismantle this and get it out of the way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in a second after I've wiped my counter down, and I'm going to show you the trick for doing a pan parchment line to make sure you get the right size. So this will be a good trick. We're going to be using it for this recipe anyhow. Okay, so this recipe calls for a 9x13 pan. We could just spray it, but I want to be 100% sure that this does not stick because we're going to be doing brownie, Oreos, and then cheesecake on the top. So I've pulled off a piece of parchment paper off my roll. And what I want to do is I'm going to turn it over. It's curling up, but I'm going to turn it over to the other side. I'm going to place this pan on top. And I hope you can see this. Let me just check my camera angle. I'm going to move it out a little bit here. So what I'm going to do is I have the pan hanging a little bit over. You can see on the bottom here, it's about 2 inches there. It's 2 inches on the other side. And this side comes up and over, and this side comes up and over. So I'm going to take, actually I'll use a marker. You can use a pen, a pencil, a marker. It doesn't really matter. We're going to draw, hold this firm. We're going to draw all the way around the parchment paper. So we want to make sure we're at the edge of the pan. Just like tracing when we were in school and you had to go around, trace your hand to make Thanksgiving turkeys we were making to bring home to our parents. So I just want to make sure that we've got that. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you want the general idea. So I think I have that. Yes, I do. So if you look faintly, there's some lines around the edges there. So I'll put my marker away here. I'm going to take my kitchen shears, which I cleaned up from my other recipe. And you'll see each corner. We want to cut in right to the corner and cut in again. So we're cutting that chunk out. We're going to get rid of that. If you have food waste, then you do that wherever you live. That can go in the food waste. So we're going to cut to the corner and cut out again. So we're cutting these corners out. I'll do the same thing to turn around. I'm going to cut to the corner. And we just want to go right along to that edge there, and we want to go along this edge here where your line is. So I've cut there, and I put it. It doesn't have to be absolute perfect, but we want as close as we can get. This one didn't go quite as high up, but that's okay. And we're going to cut. So the corner's cut out there as well. Now what we're going to do, we don't want any pen or ink or pencil in our food. So we're gonna flip this over. You can see the line through. You're gonna fold. I go like this and just fold. You can see the line here. And I wanna fold right on the line. Pull that back out. You're gonna do it with the side. And if you've cut pretty close, you can see the line through here. These corners should pretty much match up. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's pretty darn close. Again, here, remember, we want the pen marks to be on the bottom because we don't want that in whatever we're cooking. And it won't hurt if it's on the bottom because the batter is not going to touch there. So again, and there's our line. So we take our pan, sorry about the bang in there, we pop that in, and as you can see, that fits perfectly. Now this one goes over a little. I'm going to fold it down on the other side just to kind of hold it. And I'm going to do the same here. Now these ones are curling in, not a big deal. So we're just going to do the same thing. Tip it up that way, tip it up that way. The other thing you can do is take a little bit of your batter, pop it on the side of your pan. This helps things stick so it doesn't go anywhere. That'll hold the sides up and you can just wash it off when you're done. It's actually less to clean off your pan. I use a little bit more here. It's less to clean off your pan than if you had just greased it and done that. So this is going to hold well. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this brownie mixture and I'm going to put it in the pan. Like I said, see how nicely those sides are up. We're going to put this in the pan here and we want to spread this as evenly as possible across the bottom. Like I said, it's very thick. So we're going to do our best to get everything out. It doesn't have to be exact. It doesn't have to be perfectly flat. So we're just going to get that all scraped out. Let's not miss any because it's delicious. Please don't eat the raw batter though. I know you'll be tempted because it smells delicious. Although I can't say I haven't tested it before and tried it to see. But it does have raw eggs in it. So the bottoms are flipping down. But generally they'll stay in spots. So I'm going to pull this back. There we go. So I'm going to continue to get this spread out here and we're going to get to the next step and ingredients to add in. Okay, so I'm back. I've spread this out as evenly as possible in the pan. Actually, you've just noticed here in the corner, I can get it into the corner. So let's get that pressed. So we want to make sure this goes all the way around to all the edges. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put a layer of Oreo cookies. If you don't like Oreos, you can use whatever cookie you want. This calls for, says, let me see here, 36 cookies. So I bought 2 packs. Hopefully that will be enough. And I'm just going to get these layered on. Let's see how many goes across. Hopefully I think we'll have more than enough to do that. So basically we're putting a cookie layer now. Down this edge you can see here, it's not going to be a fitting, so we can cut some of those in half. If you don't like Oreos, buy any sandwich cookies. You can also probably use chocolate chip cookies, peanut butter cookies, whatever you like. There's lots of ideas. Like I said, I always say when I do my videos, you know, make it your own. If you like the flavored Oreos, like the mint Oreos, which I really enjoy, use mint Oreos. You can, if you really want to mint it up, you could even put a little bit of mint extract in the brownie mixture. But yeah, it's up to you. You have to like what you want. I'm going to open these other Oreos up over here and I'm going to get them in. All right, so you can't see, but I'm going to show you here. I've layered it, but this one side here is missing cookie. So I've taken 8 more Oreos and literally chopping them in half. Doesn't matter if they're not perfect looking. I'm going to put the flat side against the edge and I'll show you as soon as I'm done. And then we're going to set this off to the side and we're going to get the cream cheese mixture into it. I'm also going to set aside some more Oreos and crush some up as well because we're going to need a few to crumble on the top. And there we go. So this is it. So let me just show you here. So you can see you've got full Oreos layered all the way across the top, and then I've cut them in half and put them down the edge. So I'll set this aside. We'll get set up for the cream cheese portion. Or sorry, I should say cheesecake portion. Okay, I've got everything set up for the cream cheese cheesecake filling. So I'm just popping in 3 packs, so 3 8-ounce packs. We want 24 ounces total, which is also 3 cups of cream cheese. You can use Philadelphia, you can use no name brand. Honestly, I just buy this from Walmart in the States. I think it's a great value brand and it tastes like good cream cheese to me, so it's a lot cheaper. So I buy that in the States. So there we go. So I'm going to set that aside. So I have 3 blocks. We want to soften them ahead of time. So I've had them softening for a good few hours this morning. To add to that, we have 2 eggs. They say beaten, so I'm going to grab a fork here and give those a little beat. We just want to get those beaten up nice. Beaten until you don't see those big slimy parts anymore. We don't want to see any white and yellow separated. There we go. We're going to get those beaten, and yes, we're going to mix it in anyhow, but just to get it mixed a little bit more ahead of time, it'll mix in the mixture better when we do the hand mixer. This can be done in a stand mixer, hand mixer. You can do it in your Vitamix as well. I was going to do the Vitamix, but I'm not. Most people use a hand mixer, so that's what I'm going to use today. We also have 3/4 of a cup of just plain white sugar. We're going to do a teaspoon of vanilla as well. So let's turn to our next page here. So we're going to mix in the cream cheese and the sugar first. We're going to leave the eggs. We want to mix this up until there are absolutely no lumps. So let me move that to vanilla and the eggs aside and get that out of the way and that knife out of the way. So we're going to get this mixed so there's absolutely no lumps and everything is all mixed together really well. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and come back at the next step. Well, as things happen in the kitchen, my hand mixer just died on me. This is a really thick dough. I have it's an older hand mixer, so unfortunately it's just kicked the bucket. I smelled a little bit of like burning metal or burning smoky, not smoke, but electrical burning smell, if you've ever smelled that when you've had a toaster go or a blender go or something. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean this up. I'm going to get switched over and we're going to do it in the KitchenAid. So here we go. All right, so if you have a stand mixer, I'm going to recommend you do this recipe with a stand mixer. Although a hand mixer, if you have a good quality one or one that just wasn't as old as mine, it should work fine. But the stand mixer actually is handy because they're more powerful, whether you have a Cuisinart or KitchenAid or whatever brand you have. So we're just going to mix this a little bit more. It was pretty much mixed, but I like to use the whisk attachment as well. I use the whisk attachment whenever I'm doing any sort of cheesecakes because it really does get the lumps out very nicely. So now we're going to add the egg. So I'm going to do that one last little hand whisk. We're going to dump that in. Use my handy dandy scraper because we don't want to miss anything. I'm going to add that in. So don't eat this batter once you've got the eggs in. It does not taste good and it will make your stomach feel awful. This also called for 1 tablespoon of vanilla, and I think a tablespoon of vanilla, usually it's about a teaspoon in most recipes, but I think that's for a tablespoon here because, there we go, sorry I'm hiding me on there, because it is a very sweet recipe with all the cookies and the brownies. I think this will help kind of tame a little bit. So I'm just going to scrape everything in here, and we're going to get this. There we go. That's for the most part, that'll pop off there. And we're going to get this mixed up until it's completely mixed. So let's get that going. Turns lumpy first, but we're going to move it up. I'm going to scrape it a couple of times. It's already smoothing out, so let's pop this up. I'm going to scrape down the edges because we want to be 100% sure we get absolutely everything incorporated. Also with the stand mixers, there's always that little divot at the bottom, so be sure you scrape that out as well because we want to be sure that everything is mixed in accordingly. I'm going to mix this until it's smooth, and then we're going to get to pouring it over top of the brownie and Oreo mixture. So I can let that go for about a minute. Okay, so I've got the mixture done, the cream cheese mixture I should say. So we're going to scrape the edges down a few times. So I scrape the edges 3 times and I made sure there's absolutely no lumps in there whatsoever. Again, don't be tempted to eat that cream cheese mixture because it's going to upset your stomach with the raw eggs. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this mixture And I think what I'm going to do is kind of plop it down. I can't really pour it because it's pretty thick, so I think we put some big spoonfuls or scraperfuls, whatever way you want to do it. We're going to put these all around the top, and then we can spread it out evenly over the top. Let's see here. God, this smells good. I think this is going to be delicious. I hope you try this recipe. Like I said, this is my first time trying it, and of course I got suckered in. I generally stick with my tried and true ones that I have done for years, but you know what? You got to pop in some new ones here and there, and that's what I've decided to do this year. Again, if you've seen the lemon bar recipe, that's one that was given by a friend of mine and coworker, and yeah, I'm glad I decided to try something new because man, oh man, those are really good. So definitely check those ones out. And we're just going to spread edge to edge. We don't want to pop up on the edge, so I'm just scraping, and I'll show you on the other side. We want to make sure we don't want to see any of those Oreos. So we're just going to scrape along the edge, move it around, and that way it's nice and even. So we want to even this out. If you do find yourself having it riding up the edges a little bit, not a big deal. I'll show you real quick at the end what we can do just to fix that. So this is pretty simple. Press into the corners. We don't want to miss any of those. Here we go. That already looks amazingly delicious. Cannot wait to try these. Hopefully they last for the holidays that I can share with people and I don't eat the whole pan. Well, I won't eat the whole pan, but I do love Oreos, so this should be nice. So what I'm going to do is, yes, I'm going to use my finger, but they're clean. I'm just going to put that last little bit in. What I'm going to do is I will take the edge of the spatula and I'm going to run it right along here. So if you have any edges, hopefully you can see that. If you have any edges where we've made a bit of a mess, we just want to push that down because otherwise those are just going to turn into burnt pieces. So we're basically scraping away from the edge. I'll go around here again, a little bit away from the edge. There you go. And just kind of pull it back in a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. No big deal. I just don't want a bunch of real super brown edges. So again, we're going to scrape the edge across the side against the parchment. And I got a few crumbs there, but that's okay because what I'm going to do is we're going to take these Oreos. I've got 8 here. I'm going to take those Oreos and I'm going to chop them up and we're going to sprinkle those across the top here. So we just want a rough chop. I'll just cut them as if I was going to do like 1/2 centimeter width. Just watch your fingers. There we go. Hopefully this is enough. If not, I do have a few left. So this took 2 packs, the smaller packs of Oreos, and I had 1 row left. So that actually kind of worked out well. I can have a little snack later if I want. So rough chop. There you go. I'll finish chopping those in a second, and we're going to come back, sprinkle, and get this in the oven. All right, so I have cut these up to just small pieces. I just want you to see how big I've done. They're probably like centimeter, 1/2 centimeter. We don't want them so small that it's just crumb. We want some chunks on there. So I'm going to sprinkle these all across the top. Put as many as you do or don't want on there. I'm going to do the 8, and hopefully that will be enough. I think it'll be plenty. And this just kind of gives an idea for people that what's hiding inside. It's actually 8 cookies is quite an amount, so I think that that's going to be more than enough. If you don't want that many, don't put that many on. I've already cut them up, so I'm just going to sprinkle them on anyhow. I'll get around to the edges, fill in any spots that don't look very good. And then I have all this crumb left, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour that in my hand. So this is just like Oreo dust. I'm just going to sprinkle that on the top. Makes it look a little bit prettier too, and there's no point in wasting it. So there we go. So that's in. Now, I forgot to tell you at the beginning, you need to preheat this, your oven to 325 degrees. This is a 9x13 pan. We're going to pop this in the oven, and we're going to cook this for about 45 minutes until the edges are just slightly brown. So we'll be able to see that around the edges, and we want the middle to stay a tiny bit jiggly. So I'll pop this in the oven, thank you, and we will come back and we'll show you what this turns out like. Let's get that in here. I've got it preheated already to 325. I'm going to place it in the middle rack of my oven, and we'll come back when this is all baked. Okay, so we're back, and these brownie cheesecake Oreo bars are cooked. So I want to show you these that a little jiggly in the center. So I'm just going to jiggle the pan. See that little jiggle there? It's a tiny jiggle there kind of around this area here. So if you look around the edges, you see a little bit of brown. You see just a little bit. So this pan, yeah, there's some more brown there. So that's what you're looking for. So this will be all cooked and delicious. I'm going to let this cool. It says a minimum of 2 hours. So I'm going to let it cool for 2 hours. When that's all done, we'll take it out of the pan and I'll cut a piece off and show you what we made. All right, so it's been a few hours and these brownie cheesecake Oreo bars are all cooled past the room temperature. I ended up cooling it to room temperature and I put it in the fridge for about an hour as well. So I'm going to cut these open and we're going to take a look and see what they look like. Now the reason again for putting this parchment on is so we can just lift this, as you can see, lifts, boom, right out of the pan. So this makes for nice and easy cutting. And the pan only has a little bit of gunk on it, so we're not cleaning so much up. So what we're going to do is we're going to push down the sides. There, peels back beautifully. And there you go. So you can see the brownie on the bottom, cheesecake on the top, and those Oreos are hiding in between. So I'm going to give a little cut on the end here. Ooh, that's nice and soft. I don't want to cut them too big because I think these are going to be extremely decadent. And I'm going to cut just a corner piece off and pull this out. This is going to be the tester and we will find out if it's good or not. So I'm just going to show you here. This is the brownie bar. So we've got a few Oreos on the top and you can see the Oreo in the middle. Sorry, I guess I should bring that a little bit better into view for you. So I'm going to give this a little bite. Oh my God, that's really delicious. It's definitely going to be part of my baking from now on in. I'll set this just on the counter for now. It's clean, so I'm going to finish up that later. I'm going to bring the camera down and show you the inside. Okay, so just bringing this down here so you can see the edge of some of the Oreos there. It's a nice layer on these. So I'm going to get these all cut up. And I really do hope you try these. Honestly, they're absolutely delicious, even better than I thought it was going to be. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Please subscribe to the channel. Follow for more. I have another couple recipes still coming up. And I hope you have a wonderful holiday. You take care, and we'll see you soon.